Welcome to season 10 of the Parenting Aces podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Stone, coming at you from Southern California. We are recording this podcast in November. You're likely not listening to it until January, so it's a little bit of lag, but trying to get a jump start on season 10. And I was so thrilled to have the opportunity to talk with Hernan Chousa, who I said his name not nearly as elegantly as he pronounces it, so I'll have him speak in a few moments. But I'm really excited to have Hernan on the podcast. He and I have exchanged messages on LinkedIn and through emails and things like that. He comes to this conversation with so much tennis experience. He was a player himself. He's a parent. He has coached. He's run the gamut of what you can do in tennis, both as a junior and as a professional player, and now as a tennis parent. And I'm just thrilled to have him here to share his expertise with all of us. Also, just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, we'd love to have you become a premium member of Parenting Aces. You can just go to ParentingAces.com and click on the little join button on the left side and join us either as a monthly or an annual member. We'd love to have you. And also, if you're not following us on social media, please do so. We're pretty much on all the platforms, including having our own YouTube channel, where for those of you listening to this podcast, if you'd like to actually watch the video interview, go on over to YouTube and you'll find us there. So without further ado, let me just unmute Hernan and bring him back on the stream. Hernan, welcome to Parenting Aces.
Thank you, Lisa, for having your podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you're coming from South America. So coordinating this was a little bit tricky. So thank you for your flexibility there.
Yeah, we have 5 hours of different timing.
Yeah, a little tricky. So why don't you give our listeners a little bit of background on your own personal tennis journey?
Okay, yes. I started playing tennis at 6 because my parents played tennis, because at that moment, Guillermo Vilas was a main star in Argentina and make tennis a massive sport, So I started taking classes at 6 and I really enjoyed the game. I wanted to play and I started competing. I went to a club, many years ago. We didn't have academies, there were clubs where we can practice. And then I train a bit harder and I elevate my standards. I went 1 year to the IMG Volley Series Academy, and then I started to play really good and become one of the best in the country. And then when I was 17, I turned pro. Wow. I played some satellites, the future at that time. I play the Junior French Open. I play the qualified with Todd Martin, And
that's amazing.
That was a great experience because I couldn't return a serve to him. I lost 4-4 and I couldn't return a serve. It was kind of tricky. Then I get a really good ranking because I was 290 and I play challengers. I play ATP Tour qualifies, and I was 21 years old, and at that time I thought I missed some things to be really good, Something was missing.
Like
and
what?
I don't have a great return. I couldn't. There's some standard that you have to pass, and the return was a big problem for me, and then I used to be a big server and a big forehand player, and then my game, the coaches try to put things to my game, a backhand, a volley, and I started losing my way of playing, So that's where I was a issue there. But at that moment, the players, if they don't reach a certain level when they are 21, 22, they quit. Because the pros there quit early. Borg quit at 26, Claire quit at 28, and now you have Federer playing at 40, Nadal playing, so the age shifted, So I quit it, and I did my career for a business career. I went to college, I went to an MBA and that kind of stuff. But I was always involved in tennis. My my brother-in-law played tennis with me in the ATP tour also, and I have two kids that I teach them to play tennis, and I'm in a good tennis club, so I'm involved all the time with tennis.
I love it. And how involved were your parents in your career when you were developing as a child?
I have my father that was really tough, and he pushes me too hard. There's a good side because in some time when I wasn't so good, he put me good coaches, to improve my game. But he was tough. So everything I do, it wasn't enough. It was really tough. And my mother always was there for me, for the logistic issues and that kind of stuff. And that was a great support,
Right. And so when your own children started playing tennis, were there lessons that you took from your junior tennis years, your upbringing in the sport, that you applied to helping your own children?
Well, there are different stages. My kids, I have two kids that play. My older kid was really good when he was young. He started playing at 3, and he left the sports. At 4 years old, he was surfing. That's kind of strange. In under 10, he was the best in the country, and I teach him till he was 9, because I want to teach my kids. Sometimes I have a personal lesson with them, and they go to a group lesson. You understand? So we mix personal, my private lesson, just to fix technique and that kind of stuff, and a group lessons. And the both kids also play another sport. Julian, that my elder son, play football, and the other son, Sebastian, play karate. And we mix two sports. But I'm telling this, and I wasn't the best parent at all. I've written a couple of books, but I have really messed up too many things,
I'm right there with you. We all look back and think, oh my gosh, I should have done this differently, that differently. Yeah.
I think we don't have to look back. We did our best with the tools we have at that moment. We learn and we act in consequence,
Right. But I think the thing that's very difficult for a lot of parents is when you question in the moment, are you doing the right thing? Is this the best thing I can do for my child? Am I putting them in the best possible surrounding, for them to achieve the goals that they have? And you question every step of the way. It's very difficult to feel 100% confident in those decisions. And then when you start to, once your children are older and you start to reflect back on things that happen along the way, at least for me, the way I judge myself as a parent is the fact that I have solid relationships with my children now in their adult years. And that to me is a success story because we're close, right? But, could I have done some things differently to help my son do better with his tennis? Absolutely. Would things have turned out differently? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? And then when the kids are young, there are too many people that take decisions, grandparents, many coaches that want to get your kid. And it's difficult to decide, because there's too many people giving advice. So you have to be alone and decide by yourself and not be conditioned by others. And it's great to hear from you that you have a good relationship with your kids right now. I have a wonderful relation right now. I didn't have it when they were 15, they were 17. It was tough. It was really tough. But we handled it together. And we, as family, we grow,
Sure. And so it's two boys, yeah, that you have? Yeah. And one of them is currently playing college tennis, or he's done already?
Yeah. Julia is playing college tennis. Julia, just to make a picture, in under 12 at the Eddie Herb, he reached quarterfinals.
Wow.
He was good. Then at 15, he quitted. He quitted tennis.
Okay.
Why? Because we put more in the system than what he wants to put. You understand that. And then at 17, he said, "I want to go for a college scholarship." And it was tough for him.
Just out of the blue? Out of the blue, he hadn't played for 2 years?
2 years without playing. And he wanted, and he was his goal, and he did it. He did it. It was 1 year that he had to get some ranking. There was no UTR in Argentina, so you are out of the college radars, coaches. He had to do the international exams, SAT, and too many things in just 1 year, and he did it. And now he's a graduate senior at Delaware because he can play 1 more year. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's awesome. And I think this is a really important story for parents to hear and understand. And I've told this story about my son too, who took a lengthy break actually in his freshman year of college. He was having a bad year and took a long break away from the sport and then decided to come back. The fact that your son took 2 years away after having such a stellar outcome, at the Eddie Herr, and I'm sure in the tournaments local in Argentina. But the fact that he was still able to regroup and market himself to college coaches and give himself the opportunity to play in college it's an important thing for people to understand, that if your kid decides that they need a break from the sport for a while, they're feeling burned out, they're not loving it, whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean they're finished.
Yes. At that moment, it was finished. And then he had to start up again. And it was a tough work. It was very hard. He was to start the first tournament. He played the lowest tournament in the country, and he lost first round. So it was tough to come back. He attended a showcase at Miami for recruiting. So it was all a process to travel. It was really tough. And I was pretty close to him, and I helped him till I left him at Wofford, where he did his undergraduate, and I said, "I'm done." It was really sad.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard when they go away. And I mean, mine went across the country, so not quite as far as a different, continent, but still. So when he told you at 15, "I'm done, I've had enough of this tennis thing," how did you respond to that?
In fact, he was in the first day of the preseason training.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I'm done." And for me, it was a relief.
Really?
It was a relief. It was a relief, and I was
Why?
really stressed because the circuit is tough. Tennis is not easy, and he's the son of an ex-tennis player, and it's a difficult environment. Tennis is an individual sport, so I was relieved. So I was so relieved that I wrote my first book right after he finished tennis. Yeah.
All right, promote
sure.
your book. Tell us the name.
The book is My Son, the Tennis Player, and it's characterizing the junior circuit, the players, the coaches, the relationships, some tips, and it has some images, some how to say when some pictures draw.
Photos, yeah. Okay.
And it's written in an ironic way, and
and we'll have a link. We'll have a link to your book in the show notes on ParentingAces.com.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of it's a kind of therapy,
Right. So it was kind of cathartic to write the book and kind of get it all off your
Yeah.
chest,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that helped you cope some.
Yeah. And at that moment, it was the worst time in my relationship with him. At his 15, when he quit, we've been at the dinner table and everything that I say was wrong. So I stopped talking, for 2 or 3 months, I stopped talking, no talking at the dinner table. And then he started coming again and we started chatting. It was a tough process.
I mean, 15-year-old boys are not easy in the best scenario. So I can only imagine the stress of, I'm sure he was feeling stress before he came to you and said, I'm quitting, right? That must have been a very difficult decision for him. Do you know what was kind of the final straw for him? What was the thing that made him eventually decide, I'm done with this and it's time to tell my dad?
I think he wasn't enjoying it. He wasn't winning. He see that his parents put more passion in the game than himself. Parents, grandparents, and all the family. So he said, I want a way out.
Yeah.
And it was very, very courageous to say that thing,
Yeah, absolutely. And it speaks highly to your relationship with him that he was able to say it instead of continuing to push through something that he was unhappy doing. What did he do when he stopped playing tennis? How did he fill his time? Because we know how many hours a day, how many days a week these kids are putting into their sport. What happens when they don't have that anymore?
Yeah. In fact, one of the mistakes that we did, we put him before that decision in homeschooling. He was 1 year in homeschooling, and the first thing that he said, I want to go back with my kids, with my friends at the same school.
Yeah.
So in that school, he was from 8 to 4 in the afternoon, so you have the whole day. He played football. He liked football. They have a team, and he had fun. He relaxed and didn't have the tennis stress,
Right. When you say football, you mean what we call soccer?
Soccer, sorry. Yeah, soccer.
No, it's okay. I just want to clarify that I figured that's what you were saying, but I just want to make sure. And so when he decided that he wanted to play college tennis, what do you think brought him to that decision?
No, what I told him is that if he wants to pursue a college scholarship, he have to tell me 1 year before ending school, because that wasn't easy. And 1 year before ending school, at the New Year's Eve, he said, I want to pursue a college scholarship.
For tennis, and not for soccer, not for football.
No, he could get some scholarship in soccer, but I don't know. Yeah, tennis. It was tennis. Yeah.
Okay. And do you know why? I mean, did he have friends that were starting to go through the recruiting process, or what happened that changed his mind about it?
Deep inside, I think that he wanted to be far away from his parents.
I get it.
Yeah, and at that moment, he didn't realize that he can get a scholarship in soccer. So he thought about tennis the first choice, Yeah.
Yeah. And so has he regretted that decision, or did he, once he made the decision and your family made the commitment to help him reach that goal, has he just kind of pushed forward and no looking back?
No, Julian doesn't look back. No,
Yeah.
When he made a decision, he's done. He been the 4 years in the undergraduate, and he did all the things, and he wanted to, after college, to try the doubles tour. But after COVID-19, he was kind of tournaments there, as there are not many tournaments there, so he chose a graduate senior in Delaware.
Okay. So he's in graduate school, is that what you're saying?
No, he's now he's doing a master.
Okay.
International business master, yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, Cool.
Yeah.
So when Julian made that announcement that I'm done with tennis, how did that affect his younger brother?
Well, the younger brother, what I call him the forgotten son.
The forgotten son.
Yeah, the forgotten son. I didn't have him in the radar when Julian was playing. That things happen. He got some more protagonics issues, and he was on the radar. But they had a good relationship, but they don't do many things in common.
Okay.
They have their separate lives. Sebastian wants some music styles, play the guitar and that things, and they're two very different.
But Sebastian's still playing.
No, Sebastian quit at 12. Okay. He had a really original way to say, I'm done with tennis. He threw every ball out of the court, and we stopped. We stopped with the tournament with Sebastian. Yeah.
Not so subtle, right? It's like I don't want you to mistake my intent here, Dad. I'm just going to throw all the equipment away, and we're done.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. And so now you have your younger son not playing at all, your older son who's played in college and you said still has a year of eligibility because of COVID, right? So he'll play this year.
He'll play till May, yeah.
Okay. And so how does that impact you as the parent, the former professional player? What has it been like for you to watch your sons go down these different paths?
I really do like that he was at college, we went every year to see 2 or 3 matches, and it's an amazing environment. It's way different than the tour. It's way different. And he enjoyed that, and he had many friends from different countries. It's really great, and it's impossible to have that experience in South America. It's impossible to play and to study. There's no way. So you have a really good system there. But I pursued that decision, and I talked to Julian, and he said, I want to do that. I follow you, I support you. He drives the bus, that's the way.
Right. Which I think. Go ahead.
When he needs something, he chat with me and say, and I have to give my very best advice, because we never talk, we talk maybe once a week, a family FaceTime. But when he chat, I would say, the colleges are shutting down. What do I do? Okay, we come up with advice,
Right. So now you're kind of through this. You're on the other side of it, like I am. When you think about parents that are just getting involved in junior tennis, or maybe they've been in it for a few years, and you think about what advice they need to hear, what are some of the things that pop into your mind?
Okay. First thing, maybe is in practices, don't go to practice. My first advice is not go to practice, because that is the environment, the kid's environment, where he developed a relationship with the coach, and we as parents that doesn't have to be there. I've been in many practices, but that's a bad thing. What else?
Let me ask you about that, because there's a lot of debate in the junior tennis community, at least that I've seen on social media and whatever, about what the role of the parent is during practice sessions. And there are those junior coaches who say, I want the parents there. I want them to hear what I'm teaching, so that on the days where the kid's not with me, the parent doesn't confuse issues, like the parent sticks to the game plan. Then there are the coaches that say, I don't want parents anywhere near the tennis court when I'm trying to teach their children. All they do is distract and this is my time with the player and I need the parents to just go away. And then there's some that, want a combination of things. And my personal view on that is, unless you as the parent have such trust in the coach, it's very difficult to hand your child over and say, okay, here, coach, you deal with all of this. I'm going to trust you and I'm going to go about my day and do my thing and then come pick my kid up when you're done.
I'm in the third view because I know something about the sport, so maybe I see the coach as is not doing the right thing, and I have some argue with them. So that was tough. But I think that I don't think that parents need to know the technique, what the coach is saying to them. I think the best thing that parents can do is work on themselves, have a hobby, work on the job, work out, and you have the mind clear. Because when you have a kid playing tennis, your mind is a mess.
Just thinking, that's an understatement. I'm laughing, but it's kind of a sad laughter.
You think all day, if he put a pair of socks, if he have the water, and when Nadal was 11, he was playing a tournament, and he was in the third game, and he realized that he didn't have water, so he asked Uncle Tony to go to buy one water. And Tony, he said that it was his responsibility, that today he was going to play without water.
Yeah.
And he built a champion.
Yeah, we've heard those stories about Rafa, right? That Tony didn't ever give in, right? There were rules and you follow the rules. And if you forgot something, too bad for you.
Yeah, but I think that is right, that because you are micromanaging your kid, and I think that he's not growing.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
My kid grew more in 4 years in college alone, taking decisions. You have to make mistakes. All stuff has to make mistakes.
Yeah. Well, and so I think that feeds into this advice maybe that you would give to parents is, letting the children have those small failures. My philosophy is, the more small failures they have as children, the fewer big failures they're going to have as adults, where it really matters, right? Where the consequences are so significant.
I think that the kids bounce back. If they have a big issue, they will bounce back. Give him time, and with time he will go out and get on the road again.
Right.
Maybe so for adults it's tougher, But
when Julian and Sebastian were playing, were you the parent that dropped them off and then picked them up when it was over and let them carry their gear and deal with their warm up and their stretching and all of that on their own? Or was there some middle ground there?
No, I was the guy that made the mistakes, Yeah.
I was right there with you. So
yeah, we did that. We did that, and we are guilty of that. That's the truth.
Yeah.
But we have to grow ourselves and realize that they have their space, we have our space, and we don't have to overlap spaces. Tennis is their game. Because you hear parents talking about tactics with other parents, and that they never pick up a racket and they know to what academy go, to which tournament you have to play, and it isn't worth it.
Right. How do you, as a parent, now that you've gone through this, how do you advise parents, I guess, to not make it such a big deal? And I think it's such a challenge. And I'm asking this question because I was on the phone this morning with a parent of a 7-year-old who decided to move for the child's tennis at age 7, and did a pretty big lifestyle change for the family. And I kept saying, just remember that he's 7. He's a little kid, and there are, lots of things to do as a 7-year-old besides play tennis. And, I hope you'll continue to encourage those other activities as well. And it just, I don't know. I think we as parents tend to get so caught up in it, that sometimes our kids are the ones who suffer.
Yeah, we think more about tennis than our job. We are searching which strings to buy, which racket to buy. I was maybe 1 week, 1 hour every night seeing rackets for Julian, the upgrade and that kind of stuff, and it's all the same.
Yeah.
So there are parents that want to move when their kids are 7, and there are some parents that they want to do their things, but I don't advise that. I think that the kid has to develop his skills. Tennis is a great sport to develop. It's a great sport. You have decision every 3 seconds. Every stroke you have a decision. You have healthy routines. You have to take care of your stuff. You have to play in a team when you play maybe inter-clubs and that kind of stuff. So tennis is fantastic, but the environment is very difficult. So you have to take care of your kid about that environment. Mm-hmm. If we push the system, the kid will burn out. Sooner or later, the kid will burn out.
So how do you account for somebody like a Roger Federer who is still finding joy in competing at almost 40? Or did he turn 40 already? I guess he already turned 40. It's crazy, right?
I think Roger loved the game. He loved the game, and he was very wise because he chose the right coaches. Today's Federer is not the Federer 4 years ago. He's playing inside the court. His backhand is another backhand. He adjusts his tennis for his age. And the other thing, I think, that he wants to make history. He wants to make history. They don't play for the money. They love the money also, but he wants to play.
Well, I think we say the same thing about Serena Williams, right? I mean, the fact that coming back after having a child and still, trying to reach that magic number, and, certainly she's got more money than God. So does Roger. But yet they still continue to show up and train and compete. And I think it's unbelievable to maintain that level of commitment for that long.
In Serena, you have a parent. You have Richard. I read the book Black and White, and it was amazing what this person did with that 2 girls. It was really great. He put them in a court in a hard place to feel the pressure. That guy is amazing. And then he delegated another one. Today Serena, I think, with Patrick Moratoglu or another coach.
Yeah. And
there's a moment when you have to leave the player,
Right. So in terms of parents getting educated about how to maneuver through all of this junior tennis stuff and the college recruiting and all of that, it's very difficult, right? Because there's not a central resource. I mean, Parenting Aces, we try to be a central resource, but obviously, I don't have access to all information, and things are different in different parts of the world. What do you recommend parents do in order to be the best version of themselves they can be as their child is going through this journey?
I think 2 things. First, you get a UTR. UTR is the main thing for college coaches. And then also to have a good SAT, a good TOEFL, because you can get some scholarship there, not only tennis, So in academics, you can get some money for the kid. And the UTR is the main thing that college coaches do, and you have to be on the radar. But maybe the UTR is important, but there are some coaches that want to see the player, how he reacts, how he plays doubles, how he be in an environment. There were many cases in South America where the kid went for 6 months to the college and then he came back. So you have to take care of different things,
Right. But in terms of the parents themselves being supportive and being, in the right frame of mind, what advice do you have for them in order to get to that place? And I've had this conversation with so many people over the years, about, does it get easier as a tennis parent watching your child compete? And across the board, the answer is no. It gets more difficult as the stakes go up. But my experience was, once my son was playing in college, all of a sudden I relaxed, because for me at that point, and for him at that point, that was it. We knew his tennis was done when he was done with college. And so it was just about enjoying the moment, enjoying watching him compete and enjoying the environment and all of that. But it took me a really long time to get there.
Yeah, the recruiting process is very tough, because in the US, most of the players play for a scholarship, not for turning pro. In South America, it's different. We play to get pro.
Yeah.
So the pressure in the kid, maybe when he's 15, 16, is to get a scholarship. So maybe you can micromanage him something, and he has to be sure that's the path that he wants. I think that's the main thing. And the more we talk about it, it's the worst.
Yeah.
They will find the path. They have, in the US, you have all the resources to find the path. If you're a parent, you have to have a good coach. You've had a relationship with some people, it's better, but you have to relax. I know it's not easy. It was not easy for me, but I was in Argentina with no UTR, no ranking, no nothing. But in the USA, there's plenty of schools,
right.
And I can give you an advice that I did with Julian. I was searching for a college where he would be the best player in the team. A college that loses more than wins.
Mm-hmm.
Because why? Because he will play all the weekends. He started in double number one and single 5, and he ended in single 1 and double 1, and he played 4 years. And maybe some parents want to go to Harvard, want to go to some colleges that are really high, and I don't think that raising the bar high is better for the kid.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
So is college tennis, you said, most of the kids in South America are training to be professional players. Is college tennis then viewed as kind of the fallback, or if you fail at becoming a pro, you go to college and play tennis? Is that the mindset, or no?
No, that's the mindset of the player in South America. But now there are more players that are pursuing a college career. Not as many as this could be, but there are more players. But when you talk to a number 1 under 16, I want to go to college, but you're quitting tennis. So, but I think, and that's a personal view, that if you want to turn pro, you need to go to college. You need to go to the best program, and you are out with 22 years, and the ages to get into the system, the ATP, shifted. They're higher because Federer is still playing. So you can go to college, have fun, practice your game. You see the college kids are very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Are very strong. And when you see the kids playing the tour are thin, weak, because they're 18, 19, they're kids,
Yeah, they haven't fully developed into their adult bodies yet, especially on the men's side, right? So what do you attribute the fact that more South American kids are looking at college? Why is that? What changed? Is it the older age on tour?
No, I think that tour is expensive. It's very expensive. If you want to play a whole year, you have to spend $60,000 a year,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
60, 80.
yeah.
Kids don't have that money, and not too many families have that money, and you have to play 4, 5, 6 years to get some ranking. So it's a lot of money, and kids from South America maybe can play in college paying $5,000 a year, or
Right,
maybe for free.
right.
So it's a great choice.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Don't get me wrong, but I always find it interesting when that mindset shifts to, from college tennis is the failure route to, oh, yeah, everybody should go to college for at least a year or two and maybe all 4 years before deciding to pursue the professional side of the game. And I'm always thrilled when kids choose the college route. I think it's a great opportunity for most players. There are obviously those outliers who are ready for the tour at 17, 18.
Yeah.
But I think especially on the men's side now, that's very, very rare.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You have to have a star, maybe Del Potro, maybe some new guy, but all are normals. College is a good path, and you have to choose the right college, the right coach,
Yeah,
because the coaches, they have difference between the U.S. coach and the South American coach. They are different,
very.
very.
Yeah.
The
But
USA coach.
not all college coaches are American.
Yeah, I have a friend that is a college coach, Mario Rincon. He's a college coach, and
You're friends with Mario?
yeah,
I'm
we play
friends with
together.
Mario. I'm friends
Yeah,
with Mario. Of course.
yeah.
Yes. Yes. That's so
He's a great
funny.
guy.
He is a very sweet guy. Yeah. I did not realize y'all played together. I love that. Tennis is such a small world, right? There's so much overlap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I want to get back to your boys and your role as a tennis parent, having played yourself on the tour. Did you feel when your boys were playing junior tournaments and traveling around for that, and you would meet the other parents, did you feel like you were better prepared to handle this junior tennis thing because of your own personal experience? Or did you feel like I know too much for my own good?
I thought I was prepared. Um, I talked with the parents about um, technical issues with their kids and that kind of stuff. I like to teach, so I talk about that stuff. But I thought I was more prepared than I really was. I
Mm-hmm.
was. I made all that mistakes, and I realized when my kid quit. If my kid didn't quit, I will continue making the same mistakes.
Right. So it was kind of a wake up call for you.
Yeah, yeah. We have a stepstone.
Right, right. It's always so interesting to me because I played tennis growing up, but not at a very high level. I was okay, but didn't play in college. I wasn't good enough to go that route. I quit by that time too. Like your son, I quit at 15, 16, I guess. And I felt like when my son started playing tennis, things were so different from how they were when I came up in the sport. The whole structure in the US of tournaments and how the rankings are done. And then UTR came on the scene and that changed things again. So I felt like I really was at no advantage having played myself as a kid. And in fact, maybe at a disadvantage because I kept saying, but wait, it used to be like this. Why is it like this now? And, it just would frustrate me. And I was always kind of envious of the parents that they had no background in the sport. They were coming at it, completely knowing nothing and just they were sponges, they were so ready to absorb every bit of knowledge that came their way.
Yeah, but what I think is that the more knowledge we get, the more pressure we put to the kids. I have parents that doesn't get afraid when the kids play. That maybe are the parents that you mentioned. They didn't know nothing about tennis, and they don't have emotions, and there's everything in the court. But I personally, maybe in Argentina, in my place, I thought that when I played tournaments, there were better tournaments than when my son played. That the system was better when I played. But the system is the system, and you have to deal with it.
Right. Yeah, you have to learn to navigate the system that you're in.
Yeah, and there are parents that want to go against the system, and they want to go against many structures, and that's really tough. That's really tough.
Do you think playing junior tournaments is necessary to developing a high-level player?
There are some players that skip the junior tour. Maybe they play the majors in junior, and that's it. I think there are three matches that you have to play. The match that you know you will win, the match that you don't know you will win, and the match that you know you will lose. If you play junior tournaments and you are good, you have the pressure to win when you're supposed to win. Maybe too many players, they say, no, I skip juniors, I play the pro, and they lose, and they don't have pressure, 2-3 years playing without pressure. I think that's not a really good decision.
Interesting. Yeah, I think I've heard that from other players and parents as well, and from coaches, that you have to have that balance of the matches you lose, the matches you win, and the ones you go into, and it could go either way. And I think that's what UTR is really trying to do, right? Is to provide those opportunities and to make it easier to kind of identify those opportunities when they come up. But it's still a work in progress, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they have to feel the pressure. There are too many kids that don't play, that they play higher tournaments, they skip one level to lose, and they lose all the time.
Mm-hmm. So in your opinion, the kids need to go through those progressions of losing and then having battles and then winning easily and then finding that mix that works for them.
They need that three type of matches. They need three type of matches. They need to feel the pressure. They need to fight when they know they will lose, but they have to fight. And they have to maybe develop new skills when they play to a lower level player. Maybe you don't serve and volley, maybe one serve and volley in the 40 love. You have to practice skills in that match.
Right. What do you feel like is one of the keys, or maybe you have several answers to this, that help kids really develop that competitive nature, that competitive edge that helps them manage the stress of competition?
How they develop that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough one. if I knew that one.
Born with it? I mean, do you feel like kids are born with it, or can it be coached?
I think that there are certain kids that they are highly competitive. At everything they play, they are highly competitive. And there are kids that they don't compete so much, and but I listened to the podcast with Gustafsson, and that guy said an interesting thing, that he made them compete.
Yeah.
He made them compete. He don't care about other things. And I think that that's amazing, because many coaches are trying to develop a forehand, a backhand, and at the end, is the mind. It's just the mind.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to want to win, right? And you have to hate losing. My dad always said that. You have to hate losing more than you love winning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. So what are you doing now? Your boys are done playing. How do you channel your love of the game nowadays?
Well, I have a company, I have a business in Argentina, and we have some international customers too. And in tennis, I after the COVID-19, I start playing again. Again, I play one, maybe two times a week, and now I'm playing almost every day because it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels really good. And the lockdown has some consequence. It's not healthy, and you have to move your body. So I have tennis, and I play every day. I go to the main club in Argentina. I have too many friends to play all the levels. So it's a really good sport.
Do you ever hit with your sons?
Yeah. Last Sunday I hit with Sebastian. He didn't hit maybe for 6 years,
Uh-huh.
and maybe 2 years ago when Julian came, he asked me to play, and I play 3 4 times, and that was the amazing thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
Play with your son, and that your son wants to play with you.
Yeah, I think that's
That's
lovely. Yeah,
that was a gift. That was a
for
gift.
sure. And I think like it's important for parents to hear you say that, right? That
Mm.
it doesn't matter how far your kids get with the sport, right? I mean, is if they have a goal, it matters that you help them try to achieve that goal. But if the goal changes and playing college tennis is no longer what they want, playing professional tennis is no longer what they want, playing junior tennis is no longer what they want, that the gift of it is they now are proficient enough at the sport that they can play.
Yeah.
And one day they come back to you and say, hey, let's go to the court and hit a little bit. And what that feels like, that you've given them that gift and now they're giving it back to you. It's
Yes.
huge.
Yes, it's very nice. It's really, really nice. Uh, I think parents have to, uh, if they, how do I say, evaluate themselves, they evaluate their kids, they're gonna surprise.
Yeah.
They're gonna
Well, and
surprise.
it was interesting to me. My son was visiting a couple months ago, and I had a tennis match scheduled at my club here, and my son said, I'm gonna come watch. I was like, all right. I mean, it's the first interest he's shown in tennis in 3 years, and it was so fun for me to. I think I was nervous to have him watch me because he hasn't seen me play in a while either.
Yeah.
But it was just so it made me feel good that he wanted to sit out there, and he and my husband came, and they chatted some and they watched some, and it was
You know,
just
you know,
really
you know,
wonderful.
something. There are not too many moments with our kids when they are 20, 22, 23, and you have one moment like that. Is a really a gift.
It is, and I want the listeners to hear that, because we, as you said, we get so caught up in all the minutia of our children's tennis that sometimes we lose sight of that big
Mhm.
picture of
Yeah.
this relationship building that's happening when we're involved in something that our children are showing a passion for.
Yeah, I think that parents have to figure out that tennis is a way to develop skills.
Mm.
It's not an end road. It's a way. It's a way to develop healthy habits, decision making, that kind of stuff.
Sure. And we talk about that all the time, that tennis is such a great metaphor for life, right? There's so many things you do on a tennis court or in preparation for stepping foot on the court that translate to anything you're going to do in your adult life, whether you're a parent yourself, whether you're a spouse, whether you're an employee or an employer. Whether you're giving back to your community. I mean, all of these skills that our kids are learning through this game will serve them no matter what they do in their adult lives.
Yes, and they are in a sport. It is very difficult to put kids in sports. They have too many social media, too many other things, and have a kid in sport is really healthy.
Yeah, it's great. Well, we're coming to the end of our time together, so I want to make sure I give you a chance to share whatever it is you want to share. So I already said we're going to put your book in the show notes with a link.
Okay.
And you have 2 books. Well, tell us about the second book.
Yeah, the second book is I have to give a talk in a soccer club, an important soccer club for amateur sports, and I was preparing the graph with 10 tips, and that is they were worthy to make a book. So it's called How to Help Your Kids Succeed in Sports. They are both in Amazon, and the only social media that I use is LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I write some things about tennis, some things about life, some things about my company, and I'm there.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll have a link for the LinkedIn page, and also the link to purchase both of your books. And check out the show notes, everybody, so you can find out that information. And I will tell you from personal experience, Hernan is great at returning messages on LinkedIn. So if you have questions, you can certainly reach out to him through there, and he's very quick to reply, even though we're in different time zones.
Yeah, I'm active on the social media, just in LinkedIn, and I return all the messages. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Well, Hernan, thank you so much for being with us today and for talking about your journey, your personal journey, and your parenting journey with your sons. And I wish them all the best as they continue to pursue whatever it is that they love in life. And I'm really happy to hear that your relationship with them is solid and that you're getting to hit tennis balls with them again. That's so cool.
Yeah, that's really cool, and I want to thank you about the interview and the way you help parents in their journey too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. To my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Parenting Aces.